The work the wind forgot. Yuno stood beside the water, ears tilted forward, still listening for something that was no longer there. The river slipped past the stones as it always had, clear and calm, as if the strange melody had never touched it at all. The forest felt steady again, almost ordinary, but Yuno knew better. He stayed very still, half expecting the water to sing once more. Mira fluttered down onto a nearby rock and shook out his wings, remarking that it had been the strangest part of his morning. Yuno nodded slowly and replied that it had felt like the forest wanted them to hear the song, just once. Mira opened his beak to answer, then froze in place, suddenly realizing something was wrong. Yuno turned and asked what had happened. Mira hovered in the air, feathers ruffling with worry, and admitted that he had forgotten something important. He pointed toward a cluster of tall trees where branches tangled high above the forest floor and explained that a wind net was hanging there. It was made of old vines and twigs meant to catch falling leaves, and if it broke loose, it would block the parts below. Yuno followed Mira's gaze upward as the branches swayed gently in the breeze. He observed that Mira had forgotten because the river had been flowing the wrong way. Mira admitted that was true. Yuno did not laugh or tease him. Instead, he stepped closer to the nearest tree and pressed his paw against the bark, asking Mira to show him exactly where the net was. The trunk was wide and rough, ridged with age. Yuno dug his claws into the bark and began to climb, moving carefully. Muscle by muscle, as the forest floor slowly shrank beneath him. Mira flew alongside Yuno as he climbed, circling close and calling out warnings whenever a branch bent under his weight. Yuno tested each limb before shifting, feeling one branch dip slightly before holding firm. Ahead, tangled between two crossing limbs, hung the wind net. The vines had loosened over time, and one sharp gust would have sent it crashing down. Yuno called out that he could see the problem. Mira landed on a nearby branch and grabbed the dangling vines with his beak, saying that he would hold the net steady while Yuno worked. Yuno reached forward, paws moving slowly. The vines were tight, twisted by weeks of wind. He tugged once, and a twig snapped. Both of them froze. Mira whispered for him to go easy, spreading his wings to steady the net. Yuno slowed his breathing and adjusted his grip, working more carefully now. One knot slipped free, then another. The net sagged, and Mira called out that it was almost loose. With one final pull, the vines gave way. Mira guided the net downward as Yuno climbed back, claws scraping against the bark while his heart pounded. When Yuno dropped onto the moss below, his legs shook, and he sat down hard, breathing fast. Mira swooped down beside him, feathers messy but eyes bright, and said that what Yuno had done was impressive. Yuno laughed softly, still catching his breath, and admitted that he did not usually climb that high. Mira replied that he had still done it. They walked together for a while after that, following a narrow forest path as the light shifted cooler and quieter around them. Leaves rustled overhead, and somewhere far off, water trickled over stone. Mira flew lower now, staying close. After a moment, Mira thanked Yuno for helping and admitted that he should have handled the task earlier. Yuno shrugged and said that the forest had needed it done. The path soon split ahead. Mira slowed and landed on a branch, indicating which way he needed to go. Yuno stopped and said that his path went the other direction. They stood there for a single heartbeat, letting the quiet settle between them. Mira tilted his head and reflected that whatever had happened with the river was not finished, and that it had not finished speaking to Yuno. Yuno looked back toward the trees behind them and said that he knew. Mira nodded once and reminded him not to stop listening. With a strong flap of wings, Mira lifted into the canopy and disappeared between the leaves. Yuno watched until the sound faded, then turned and padded down his own path. Behind him, the wind moved through the branches, soft, steady, and patient. The forest felt quiet now, not strange, just calm. The path dipped and rose the way it always did. Soon, the soft blue glow of the Star Hollow den appeared between the trees. Yuno smiled. He slipped inside, the cool stone brushing his fur. The den wrapped around him, safe and still. Outside, the forest carried on. Inside, Yuno curled up in the moss, tired but content. The adventure was over. For now.
Stay tuned for the next Yuno the Blue Fox episode. Like and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching.